My name is Bob Simpson. I am the founder and president of the Multifamily Impact Council. The Multifamily Impact Council is a national nonprofit membership organization. Our mission is to increase the flow of impact investment capital in the United States to create and preserve more affordable and sustainable rental housing. We do this in three ways. One is we want to make it easier for investors, property owners, and other stakeholders to develop impact strategies and work together. So we maintain an industry standard framework for multifamily impact investing. It is available for free to be downloaded on our website. We also focus on developing research partnerships to quantify the connection between financial value and impact. And finally, we really look to develop and share resources, so to develop a common ecosystem for folks in the impact investing community in multifamily, to share information, best practices, and figure out ways to work together. Sure. I think the first thing that investors really should understand about impact investing is that there are really three questions that any investor should ask when they're thinking about an impact investment. Number one, does it improve the life of the person who lives at the property that they're investing in? The second is, does that property, do the investments that you make at that property, does it help reduce greenhouse gas emissions? And finally, and equally as important, does it achieve the investor's targeted rate of return? So an impact investment has to really improve a person's life. It has to support our environmental goals, and it also has to enable the investor to meet their fiduciary responsibilities. So I do think that one of the misconceptions that has often been the case from an impact perspective in the multifamily sector is that in order to achieve impact, an investor must somehow sacrifice return. This is not true. I think the most important thing to understand is that impact investing works best when the interests of the investor are aligned with the renter who lives in the property. And these interests are most aligned when the investor takes a long-term fixed income approach that values stable cash flow and a low beta over short-term value appreciation. So from an impact perspective, an investor needs to really understand that it's important for the person who lives in the multifamily property to be able to afford the home where they rent, to live in a home that is safe and healthy, to be able to access community services and engage with the broader neighborhood and community, and to live in a property that conserves energy and water and reduces this carbon footprint. Now, if I'm looking at this investment from a pure financial perspective, what's important to me is that the property maintain high and stable levels of economic occupancy, that it avoids unnecessary expenses from high turnover, vacancies, and bad debt costs, that it has a high resident satisfaction index so that you know that the marketability of any vacant unit is going to be greater, and that it has water and energy savings measures that reduce monthly operating costs. So both of these lists are basically two sides of the same coin. When rent is more affordable, your economic occupancy is higher. When people live in a place for longer, there's lower turnover costs, and your interests between the investor and the person who lives there are very much aligned. The bottom line is that, healthy, financially stable renters create healthy, financially stable properties, and that leads to a really good, strong investment opportunity in the impact space. Sure. I think, one of being able to really define the tangibility of an impact investment is one of the most important things that we can do if we want to bring scale and increase the amount of impact investors in this space. The Multifamily Impact Framework, which we developed as a common standard of impact principles and reporting guidelines, was created specifically for this purpose. So to define tangible results on the impact side, we've identified a handful of key metrics. Number one is the percentage of units at a property or across a portfolio that are affordable to low and moderate income households. The second is being able to identify how many renters at a property or across the portfolio are able to build credit and improve their financial stability by having their on-time rents reported to the credit bureaus. Increased retention rate and length of stay are very important metrics that you can use to really drive tangibility in the impact space, because it goes to demonstrating how housing stable that person is and how stable that property is for the renters. From a health and wellness perspective, it's really important to be able to understand property ratings at your property and making sure that all of the local codes and guidelines are being approved, but also the presence of healthy building certifications such as WELL, FitWell, Enterprise Green are also very important indicators. And then obviously on the energy and water side, understanding, what are the energy and water performance metrics? Does it have a GRES score? Does it use Energy Star Portfolio Manager? What are the tangible greenhouse gas reductions that are either real or projected at the property due to the improvements that are being made? And then obviously having a good understanding of the resident service programs and the resident satisfaction scores are also very indicative of longer lengths of stay and supportive of increased retention rates. Those are all really important impact metrics. A lot of those metrics are already measured and included in NOI calculations. So not only do these demonstrate impact, we think they're very closely connected to improved NOI, credit performance, and also it provides a good indication on the availability of additional public support, whether that's through a low-income housing tax credit, lower cost of permanent debt capital from either Fannie or Freddie, or through tax-exempt bonds, presence of local property tax abatements or gap financing that can lower the additional cost of the property. But all of these things are very related. And we think that any good impact metric has to be able to be tied back to some sort of connection to how does it improve credit performance, increase access to other forms of capital, or improve the net operating income of the property. Sure, we're really excited about the partnership that we've started with NYU's Center for Sustainable Business. And the goal is to really take their existing work to quantify the financial drivers of sustainability practices in other industries, overlay the multifamily impact framework so that we can have an assessment and an approach to this that is very specific to the multifamily sector. So we're working with NYU and our member organizations to really better understand this, quantify how specific impact-driven practices aligned with the framework can drive financial value from an NOI perspective. So when complete, we expect to have a very good detailed research paper that demonstrates how this does go to drive financial value. We'll have 5 case studies that looks at specific impact practices that our members are doing and how they are using that in their NOI calculations and how they're using that in their financial evaluations of the property. And also a broader assessment tool that will be made available to the public to help investment managers and property owners really better understand how focusing on these issues, that they aren't just generally losers on the money side, but that they can actually be additive to an investment, either from an NOI perspective or also from a risk perspective, because obviously there's a direct correlation to credit risk. Having a stable net operating income is a primary indicator of a property's financial health. We do plan to dive a bit deeper into the credit risk on a future project, but there's some good data out there already from Fannie Mae that's been tracking credit performance of affordable properties versus market rate properties for the last 10, 12 years. And that data consistently shows that the credit performance of affordable properties is lower and more stable than those of market rate properties over time. So there are a number of impact-driven investment managers and property owners all around the country that have been doing this work for a long, long time. Um, Recently, with the multifamily impact framework, we've been overwhelmed with the number of those operators that have downloaded our framework, uh, joined our organization, and really built the framework into their process as they go forward. Over 300 organizations have downloaded the framework for their use in the last year alone. A lot of these organizations are now using that framework to really help them better understand how they're going to deliver impact, report on impact, and also have built it into their strategies going forward. One great example, we just highlighted this on one of our recent calls, was a really interesting collaboration between the City of Dallas and three of our member organizations. On the investor side, it was the Vistria Group out of New York City, Northern Liberties, an equity investor out of New York, and the Waterford Company, which is a Southern California-based firm in Orange County. They worked together with the City of Dallas to put together an amazing project that allowed them to purchase an existing market rate Class A property and then convert units to affordable rents by partnering with the city that provided them with a property tax abatement. And then in return, these three organizations implemented a number of features from the multifamily impact framework. So over 50% of the units are going to be affordable to moderate income families. They're going to be building in resident satisfaction index metrics and requirements. They have long-term rent restrictions that'll run for 99 years, heavy focus on property management and health and safety, resident service programs, and also environmental improvements so that they can increase the efficiency of their energy and water, and in so doing, reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. So a wonderful example of how organizations are working together, using this framework as a way to really guide their impact investment strategy, but also work in concert with state and local governments, and then be able to provide a market-driven rate of return for the investors that meets the fiduciary responsibilities that they have, to their end investor as well. We think one of the most important things and one of the most impactful things that an investor like a pension fund can do is make sure that the person who's getting the pension gets their pension. And so it's really, really important that you focus not just on the impact that you're driving towards the resident, towards the community, but also to the person who's trusted you with their money. And we think that in the impact investing space for multifamily, that you can do both at the same time, especially if you take a long-term approach to your investment strategy.